You sit down to meditate. Eyes closed. Breath flowing. And then, nothing happens. Your mind wanders. Time crawls. You feel restless, distracted, maybe even a little irritated. And you start thinking. This is boring. Am I doing this wrong? Here's the truth that might surprise you. That boredom, that restlessness, isn't a sign you're failing. It's actually proof you're making progress. Today, I'm going to show you why the most uncomfortable moments in meditation are often the breakthrough moments you've been waiting for. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening in your mind when meditation feels boring. And why ancient Eastern wisdom tells us this is precisely when the real work begins. Let's start with what's really happening when you feel bored during meditation. In our modern world, we're constantly stimulated. Notifications, social media, news, entertainment. Our brains have become accustomed to a never-ending stream of novelty and dopamine hits. We've trained ourselves to expect excitement every few seconds. But here's what Eastern philosophy understood thousands of years ago. True transformation doesn't happen in excitement. It happens in stillness. And stillness, to a stimulation-addicted mind, feels incredibly boring. The Taoist masters described this perfectly. They talked about Wu Wei, effortless action, or non-doing. It sounds paradoxical, doesn't it? How can you act without acting? How can you do by not doing? But this is exactly what meditation teaches us. We're so used to constantly doing, constantly achieving, constantly consuming. That simply being feels uncomfortable. It feels wrong. It feels boring. Buddhism offers another perspective through the concept of the monkey mind. Our thoughts jump from branch to branch like a restless monkey, never settling, always seeking the next thing. And when we finally ask that monkey to sit still, it rebels. It gets bored. It wants to go back to jumping. Here's the key insight. That boredom is the monkey mind's last defense mechanism. Your mind is so used to distraction that it will label anything unfamiliar as boring, just to get you to quit and return to familiar patterns. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but if meditation is supposed to bring peace and clarity, why does it feel so uncomfortable? Stay with me. Because what I'm about to explain will completely change how you approach your practice. And it has everything to do with what ancient wisdom calls the gap. In Zen Buddhism, there's a beautiful teaching about the space between thoughts. They call it ma in Japanese, the pause, the interval, the gap. This gap is where insight lives. This gap is where transformation happens. But to access it, you first have to stop filling every moment with mental activity. When you sit down to meditate and feel bored, what's actually happening is this. You're beginning to perceive the gap. Your mind has slowed down just enough that you're no longer completely hypnotized by your thoughts. You're starting to notice the space between them. And that space, it terrifies the ego. The ego is the part of you that has built its entire identity on thoughts, stories, and constant mental activity. When you start to witness the gap, the ego panics. It doesn't know how to exist in stillness. So it creates discomfort. It generates boredom. It does everything it can to pull you back into the stream of thinking. The ancient Vedantic texts from India describe this perfectly through the concept of Maya, the illusion that keeps us trapped in surface-level consciousness. Boredom during meditation is Maya's way of keeping you from diving deeper. It's the mind's defense against awakening. Here's what's fascinating. Spiritual teachers throughout history have all pointed to this same phenomenon. The Christian mystics called it the dark night of the soul. The Sufis spoke of spiritual dryness. The Buddhist masters warned about the plateau. They all understood that the path to deeper awareness isn't always pleasant. In fact, the most significant growth often happens during the phases that feel the most uncomfortable. So what should you do when meditation feels boring? First, recognize it for what it is: progress. You're not failing, you're actually succeeding. You've reached a threshold where your mind is beginning to settle, and it doesn't know how to process this unfamiliar state. Second, stay with it. This is what the Buddhist tradition calls the sacred pause. Don't reach for a different technique. Don't judge yourself. Don't quit. Simply observe the boredom without trying to fix it or escape it. The Taoist concept of Ziren, natural spontaneity, teaches us to trust the process. Just as a seed must break open in the darkness of soil before it can grow toward light. Your consciousness must pass through this uncomfortable phase before breakthrough can occur. Third, understand that what you're experiencing isn't emptiness. It's fullness, fullness that your overstimulated nervous system has forgotten how to recognize. Ancient yogic philosophy describes this as moving from rajas, the energy of activity and restlessness, toward sattva, the quality of harmony and clarity. Your boredom is the friction of that transition. It's the discomfort of letting go of chaos and learning to rest in peace. So the next time you sit down to meditate and think, "This is boring," smile. Because that thought is proof you're exactly where you need to be. You're at the threshold. You're in the gap. You're one step closer to breaking through the illusion that keeps most people trapped in constant distraction. If this perspective changed how you think about meditation, hit that like button. Subscribe for more insights on bringing ancient Eastern wisdom into your modern, stressful life. And drop a comment below. What does boredom feel like in your meditation practice? I read every comment, and I'd love to hear about your experience. Remember, the boring meditation might just be your most important one yet.